Know that as we approach retirement planning, living, that sort of thing, even if you have elderly parents, we hear a lot about long-term care insurance. How important is it?
Well, Charlie, I think it's very, very important. You know, the first wave of baby boomers hit their 60th birthday this past January.
That's right, yeah.
And I'm not suggesting that you necessarily need to wait until you're, got a lap blanket and a drool cup to start buying the stuff. The truth of the matter is we need to be looking at long-term care insurance. And for those of you that may not know what it is, this is generally the insurance that's designed to take care of people once they reach an age in life when they can no longer really care well for themselves. Nursing home care, assisted living, things of that sort.
Okay, now let's put yourself in the shoes of the baby boomers, okay? You're probably preparing for yourself, thinking about doing it.
Yeah.
But what if you're caring for elderly parents? Can you go ahead and buy insurance for them?
Yeah, actually you can. And I would tell people that there are 4 or 5 things to think about. And that's the first thing I would suggest, is to determine who is this insurance for. Charlie, you know, we think about buying it for our parents, and that's legitimate. A lot of us are caring for our parents, and a lot of parents will say, you know, I can't afford this stuff. Well, the truth is when nursing home charges are running anywhere from $35,000 to $60,000 a year, depending on what state in the country you live, it might be a thoughtful thing, not only for mom and dad, but also for ourselves, to go ahead and spend $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000 a year in some cases and buy a good program that will protect your parents.
Are they eligible if they're already in the nursing home or close to it?
Probably not. Now that's another good reason to do this before something catastrophic happens. And that's another good reason, and that kind of gets back to the first group of people we buy this stuff for, or maybe a second group I should say, that's us.
Yeah.
We baby boomers need to be thinking about this. I recommend people, once you hit about 50, 52 years old, good time to start looking at this stuff.
What about choices? How do you know what you're getting? Well, how do you know what you want?
Well, I tell people get the good stuff. You know, there are all kinds of products out there. More and more stuff these days is coming online. In the old days, 20, 25 years ago, most of the long-term care insurance gave you a little money to go into a nursing home. Today, the products are getting better and better. A good product really ought to include assisted living coverage. It ought to also include in-home care. And probably the most important thing that I tell people to look for is make sure you get an inflation protector. Make sure that what your coverage is will go up a little bit each year. So far, I've not seen a policy that goes up as fast as the cost tend to, but it still helps offset some of it.
The purpose here is to avoid breaking the family.
Exactly.
Because we're talking some tremendous costs here.
Well, you're exactly right.
Because you don't know how long you're going to live.
Well, you know, on average, people that go into nursing homes, and you hear different things, but on average, pardon me, on average, people will be in a nursing home around 2 years. That's probably a fair average. And if you're expecting to spend $40,000, $45,000 a year in today's dollars, that could wipe a lot of families out.
All right, that's the rude reality of what the future holds. So now, with that in mind, you're going out, you're thinking about buying the insurance. How do you check these companies out that are offering this? Because this is a whole new territory for a lot of people.
This isn't exactly like buying car insurance. I mean, if you buy car insurance and you have an accident in the next 6 months, chances are pretty good the company's going to still be around. But if you buy a policy of this type that you may not need for 10 or 20 or 30 years, you want to be sure that you've got a company that's going to be there when you need them. And the best way to do that is to go online, check their ratings. You know, insurance companies are all rated. And I recommend people look at insurance companies that have an AM Best rating of an A++. There are other rating companies out there that you can look into as well. But the higher the rating, probably the more likely that company will be to be around.
Probably wouldn't be a bad idea to also check with the company that you have any kind of insurance with and let them recommend somebody.
Well, that's right. And a lot of times those companies sell the product.
Sure, they do.
But they are not necessarily the best company to go to. Sometimes it's best for you to talk to them first and then do your own shopping.
Check the rates. Now, I know if you're a gazillionaire, you don't have to worry about this sort of thing. Who else doesn't really need it?
Well, that's what I was going to say on the fourth point, and that's really exactly the point. You know, we need to ask who needs this product. And definitely two people that may, well, I shouldn't say definitely, may not, but two groups of people that may not need the coverage are these. Those of you who are, Charlie, extremely wealthy, those who have money to burn, they probably don't need it because we are in effect self-insuring ourselves when we don't do it.
If you put enough away, sure.
Sure. And the other group of people are those who are terribly poor. The government will come in, at least under present law, and take care of people who are indigent and who need the help. But again, there's sort of a feeling for some reason in America, especially among baby boomers, that somehow the government ought to just kind of take care of us when we get old. And there's no reason that the government government should, and there's certainly no way they're going to. So you need to know about this.
Plan ahead, because you don't need the debt or the sweat to go along with it. If you have questions and you want to find out what he's all about, get in touch with Steve, stevediggs.com. And as always, it's important information. Steve, I appreciate your insight. There you go.
It's good to be here, bro.
This time. All right, we'll take a break. We have more Tennessee Mornings right after this.